Right, welcome to a quick review between two action cameras. Been ages since I've done a review between action cameras, so you've all seen one of these before. Osmo Action 4. I've always been a GoPro user, but just recently I've been using the Osmo. Obviously removable lens on the front in case you get it damaged, front screen, rear screen, you're fully aware. Obviously uses the magnetic mount to connect to the bottom. Now obviously you're aware what the price of these things are. So this looks very much like the Osmo Action, but obviously it's not. So this is a Wolfang, not Wolfgang as I kept mistaking it. It's a Wolfang GA440. Now this one is quite an interesting little camera, so I'm going to just go through the construction and what it basically comes with, just so that you can see what it entails, and then we're going to compare it with the Osmo. And the idea is this thing costs a third the price of an Osmo, but does it give you a third of the quality? Let's find out. Right, so the reason that this particular model piqued my interest so much is that it is, obviously they've done this for a budget, but I think what they've done is really, really interesting because this is a completely sealed unit. No battery door, no doors to open up at all. And so that way it makes it really foolproof, because obviously with these kind of cameras, yeah, they're waterproof as they are, but if you haven't quite shut the battery door down, or you've not closed one of the ports down, and you take it in the sea or swimming pool on holiday, you're gonna get water ingress, and obviously poof, it's kaput, it's gone. Whereas this thing, there's nowhere for the water to get in, which is really, really interesting. So how have they got around it? So this is where they've cut corners, but the corners they've cut, in my eyes, actually make it a strength. So it's got 64 gigabytes built in, which obviously I've got a 256 gig card in this thing. So yeah, it cuts you back, but for holidays and so on, and you can download the footage, built-in memory to me isn't that much of an issue. The battery that's in there gives you an hour and a half recording at 4K, something like that, which again is adequate. So how do you charge it, and how do you get your footage off it? And it comes with one of these. Now, it's, I think, a really, really nifty idea. So this is a magnetic connector, and then this thing just pops on the side magnetically. Now that's what you charge it with, just a standard USB connector on the end, and also you can plug it into your PC to get your footage off it. The only drawback with that is I'm not quite sure if you lost this thing. I've not seen any spares for sale yet on Amazon, but I'm sure there would be. But I think that's a really, really nifty idea. Also, when it's plugged in like that, you can use it as a webcam, and obviously you can keep this plugged in and you can be recording, say if you do the time lapse or something. And unlike a lot of the other cameras, if you've got them plugged into an external power supply, that stops them being waterproof. This thing is still waterproof. So if you were using this as a bike cam, I mean, you know, when people go out on motorbikes or push bikes, you could keep this thing charging off a battery pack indefinitely, obviously, until the 64 gig runs out. So it's got pluses and it's got minuses, but I think it's really, really interesting. Now, obviously, they make these things to a budget. So one thing I did notice, it's got this lovely removable lens, but it's not removable. This is just like the outer edge on it. So we've got the on button on the side. Just press that in and up she boots. Now, the display really reminds me of the SJ cams, which if you look back through some of my previous videos, in fact, the one that I got the most views on was the SJ8 Pro versus the GoPro Hero 7. Really reminds me of the interface on that. Quite a nice wide angle screen. Now, obviously, it's got a front screen, but because these things are made to a budget, I'm assuming the processor's not powerful enough to do it. You can't run both screens at the same time, which obviously you can on the Osmo. So what you have to do, you have to press the mode button on the side and just hold it in, and then back screen goes off, front screen goes on. Perfectly adequate to see yourself. Look at that horrible ugly mug there. But yeah, perfectly adequate to see yourself, but different than the Osmo, it won't run both at the same time. So to go into video mode, you just swipe across. As you can see, it's a photo. Don't know if you can see that top left hand corner, and then go across again. I'm now in video mode. Press record. So it's now counting up in the timer in the top, and the front one is now flashing to show me that it's recording. When it's actually recording, you can't change to the front screen. You can only do it before you start recording, which is a bit of a drawback. There you go, that's another drawback that we've found. Stop recording, and then I would have to swap to the front screen. Start recording again. Countdown. See it counting down in the top corner. But we can't swap the screens back once it's recording. One thing to bear in mind as well, just a quick thing with these Wolfangs, the construction feels really good. Now, I don't know if that's plastic on top of metal, but it feels quite weighty. The construction is really, really solid, and I think it would probably take a few knocks. Obviously, you've got a speaker on the side, you've got, looks almost like stereo microphones on the top. Can't see anything on the front, but we'll see. We'll compare the sound, we'll compare the video and see what it sounds like. So as you can see, I've got both of them set up side by side. Should give us more or less same angle. Let's check what the video footage is like between the two now, because obviously it can look like the best thing in the world, but if the footage is absolutely pants, you're not going to want to use it. Okay, right, so it's actually 24 hours later since I started doing the video, because I set up obviously the Wolfang and the Osmo Action, and I've not used the Osmo Action that much, and I'd set it to D-Log, so the colour wasn't a perfect rendition. So got the cameras set up, both on the stand. I've got them both set to wide, which is about as comparable as I can get it on the actual video settings. I'm in my house at the moment. Obviously, since yesterday now, it's not pouring down with rain now, which is going to be a bit better for doing this video test. So on the left hand side of your screen, you will see the Wolfang GA440, and on the right of the screen, you will see the Action 4. The cameras are both about just over arm length away from me at the moment, side by side. One thing I have noticed is the Wolfang, the front screen goes off quite quickly, and then you've got to press a button to bring it back on. I think that's obviously for battery saving, because obviously you can't replace the battery. So yeah, there we go. So first of all, testing sound. Osmo Action testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Wolfang GA440 testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Indoor, no other exterior lights other than just sunlight coming in through my conservatory. Hopefully it's okay. Right, now I'm going to go outside. I'm going to do a walking then a running video to see what the stabilization is. Stabilization is on the Wolfang. Stabilization is set to standard on the Action 4. Right, so outside, arm's length, walking. What's stability like on both? Neighbours will wonder what the hell I'm doing, walking down with 2 cameras. But hey, not getting far. There's some big black clouds. Right, I'm going to run back to the house now. What's stability like now? Is it good enough? So walking outside, what is it like? I can see myself, obviously it's a lot clearer in the Action 4, but the Wolfang is good enough. It looks a little bit misty on the lens, but on the screen, but obviously it's nowhere near as good. Screen's gone off again, so press the record button, brings it back on. Right, go back into the house now. So, inside the house, coming in, what am I like backlit? So this is me backlit, no lights on inside the house. What's that like? I've got the blinds closed, so not a major amount of light coming in. I can see myself quite clearly in both. I look a little bit brighter on the Osmo Action, but not massively. Right, so I'm going to go outside now. I'm going to try the slow-mo. Testing between the 2 cameras is now complete. I did a little bit more testing than I actually endeavoured to do originally. So obviously I did the walking, the jogging test, I did slow-mo, time-lapse, and I took a couple of photos. It's obvious that the angle is obviously different, the wide angle of the lens between the two. I believe in the specs it says it's a 150-degree wide angle lens, which is a lot less than the Osmo Action, but obviously it's perfectly adequate for the majority of what people need. The photos are surprisingly good. I was quite impressed with the photos. It says according to the specs you do get about 1.5 hours in 4K recording, which is, it seems ample. One thing that did really surprise me is that the quality of the video and how it picks up in low light. I was really impressed with this little camera, and the only thing that it doesn't excel at is obviously the stabilization. This thing, the Osmo, like the GoPros, is just like it's on a gimbal. Absolutely amazing. This is very jittery, but you could run it through software to stabilize it afterwards in post, obviously. And for what the majority of what people use these things for, it's going to be more than adequate. And bottom line is, this thing, the Wolfang, is a third of the price, at least a third of the price of a main, more or less top of the range action camera, the best that you can get, like the GoPro Hero 12 and the Action 4, obviously. So you're not going to get as good, because if you did, nobody would buy these. They'd buy the cheaper ones. But the quality out of this thing, it kind of caught me by surprise. The build quality is superb. For the money, the video quality is excellent. It photographs is fine. I thought the time lapse was really good. The slow-mo is not as high quality as the Osmo, but I had it set to 4K in the slow-mo, same as on the Osmo. And again, more than usable. And if the lighting conditions are good, you're not going to complain about this thing at all. So from a recommendation point of view, if you're in the market for a cheap action camera that is completely sealed, you don't have to worry about the insides getting soaked, you don't have to worry about buying a memory card, you don't have to worry about buying batteries. There's only actually one on the market at the moment, which is the Wolfang GA440. Personally, I think it's an excellent little piece of kit. Obviously up to you to decide, but as always, thank you very much for watching the review. Hopefully you've found it useful. If I can help in any way, obviously ask questions and I'll do my best to assist you. As always, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. Subscription would be even more appreciated, and as always, until next time, stay safe. Bye.